Hello? Dunggan ba ko ninyo? Hello?
Yes, sir. Madunggan ra, sir.
Okay, so at least narinig to bag. Binakog o dili ko madunggan kaya magsige lang ta og storya. Anyways, so naaba mo gusto i-clarify na pangutana regarding sa previous na gi-discuss na-discuss na to. Or mga questions nga related sa videos nga ako ang gihatag sa inyo. Anyways, gina-encourage na mo nga na mangutana og of course kinahanglan niyo lang pa ng video. Ito man dito ang mga discussions first. So arrangement is that once na tigaan mo link sa video and then you have to study it and then of course dili man yan ingon nga makachap diretso dayon ninyo. So kinahanglan ninyo mga uh, kinahanglan ninyo i-clarify ang mga butang-butang. So this is the right avenue to do that. So you can now or you may now ask your questions regarding those videos. Questions so far?
Wala man guro sir.
Wala. Okay, so nasabtan ng lugar to tanan to ako gi-discuss last time. Medyo kuan ko duda gani kuan.
Kuan lang, sir. Kanang pwede.
Ay, sir,
Terminal
napay
example, sir.
sir.
Asay na yun lang ha. Isa ko na si Bermeo. Miss Bermeo, sige daw. Miss Bermeo, ano sa imo ang kuan? Ano sa imo ang point?
Wala man, sir.
Wala. Si kinsa may ganti mo ganina? Miss Lawingkit.
Ako, sir.
Yes, sige, go ahead.
Karang kuan, sir. Karang otro lang unta nga example sa kuan sa batong last about atong last meeting nato, sir. Sa Victor, sir.
So i-recap na ako. So tigaan mo isa ka vector. Tigaan mo vector tapos kay balo man ta nga na duha ka form niya, di ba? Ang first form niya kay in terms of magnitude and direction. Ang isa ka form, gitawag na to siya nga form 1. And then natay kaduha nga form, tawag na tong form 2 na nakasulat in terms of its components. So naa kay x, y, and z components. So now, atong gibuhat dayon is if tigaan kag vector, tapos ipa-rewrite sa imo from form 1 to form 2, so ato na nang gibuhat. Tapos, kung pangutanon po ka, pabaliktad, tigaan kag form 2 and then ibalik nimo form 1, dapat ma-perform po nato. So mo tong gibuhat. Dayon, ang last nga gibuhat nato is actually murag nag-try ta og kanang add of vectors. So but then wala lang kay na stipulate ang step by step, no? But then actually murag natag na nako ang foundation para ma-perform niyo once mag add of vectors. So ako lang buhaton karon is sige akong i-try og discuss ang katong examples jud. Say suppose na kay vector A. Tayo na lagi. Okay, vector A. Okay. Alright. And then, nakasulat siya, for example, to 10 meters, 30 degrees north of east. And then vector B, for example, is say 20 meters. And then let's say this is 50 degrees south of west. Then, may tao ni kadayon find the resultant vector. So, find the resultant vector R. So, of course, ang bot pasabot aning resultant, this is in terms of form 1 na notation. So you have the magnitude here, and then yung mga direction nila. So ana iyang pangutana. So now atong buhaton is that ang first step. So ang solution nato would be this. First step is to rewrite. So we rewrite vectors A and B into its into ano na lang, into their component forms. So there is actually form 2. Tawag na to siya form 2, no? So to do that, bato na to kay, let's say for vector A. So you sketch it. So you have sketch. So you have, suppose this is now the axis, and then vector A says that it is 10 meters, 30 degrees north of east. So atong gi-label ang direction. So you have north, south, west, east. So now, pag sketch ni mo diri class, dili necessary nga imo gamit kag ruler or protractor. So imo lang i-sketch asa dapita na locate. So north of east, so that would mean start ka from east here, measure ka og 30 degrees. So suppose this is 30 degrees, and then buhaton imong vector. So suppose this is now 30 degrees. So this is now your vector A. Okay? Now, pagka-draw naman sa vector, imong buhaton kay madang i-project sa x-axis. So this is, remember, kining imong coordinate system, you should also remember nga kini siya, this is the y-axis here. Okay? Sorry. It's also the y-axis here. This one. Kini siya dani is your x-axis. So now pag i-project na to dani, once i-project na to dani, this now becomes your x component. So this is now your ax. Automatically, naaman siya naglay sa imong x-axis. Diba? This is the x-axis. So that's why this component here is your x component. Now, doing the same thing for, okay, project man mo siya from, project man mo siya padulong sa x-axis. So ako po siya i-project padulong sa y-axis. So this one now is your y component of the vector. Ano naman siya sa y component because na siya sa y-axis. Diba? Now, since this one is parallel to this, so basically, we can also call this as your vector AY. This is also your AY. Okay? This one and that one are just the same. They're just equal. Now, so we know already that ang atong vector A kay isulat nato siya into its component form. So you have AX I hat plus AY J hat. So now, ang atong problema is what is the correct expression of AX and AY. So atong button is we try to magnify this triangle here. Okay? So bottom line is ako anang i-zoom here. So this is the triangle. So this is 30 degrees. This side here, kining hypotenuse na to, this is actually 10 meters. Okay, that's the magnitude of vector. That's the magnitude of vector A, and then this one here is your AX, and this will be your AY. Ano ba? Medyo ang triangle na hugaw lang, no? So, then so this is a right triangle, tama? Now, remember, we can now apply the famous acronym SOHCAHTOA. But then, atong take note that for solving components, ang atong gamiton lang is actually ang kining SOHCA, either sine or cosine nga function. So for in this case, if we solve for the x component, so that is actually the AX. So lantawon na tong AX here. This is your AX. And then unsay relationship niya with the angle 30 degrees. So makita ninyo that ang AX is actually tapad sa imong angle. So that's why tapad means adjacent. So you use ka here, cosine function. So now, we use cosine. So you have cosine of the angle 30 degrees is equal to, okay, this is equals divided by, di ba? Cosine of the angle equals adjacent side over hypotenuse. So in this case, you have cosine, the angle is 30 degrees, and then the adjacent side is actually AX, and the hypotenuse is actually 10 meters. So you have here 10 meters. So now, atong gipangita is AX man. So we want to solve AX. So what we do is we multiply both sides of this expression by 10 meters. So that would mean distribute natin siya dito sa left hand side and distribute sa right hand side. So when you do that, ang may tabo, the 10 meters at the right-hand side cancels out. So you have the remaining term is, or the remaining expression is just AX. And then sa left-hand side, you would have 10 meters cosine 30 degrees. Okay? So, imo na dining i-calculate class. So when you do that, pila man na siya? Cosine 30 degrees is square root of 2 over 3 ba? Anyways, pila ni siya class? Kinsa na calculator sa inyo? Ivan? Nabas si Ivan na?
5 square root of 5 square root of 3.
0.37.
Pila?
Sorry.
Cosine 30 degrees and then times 10 meters.
5 square root of 3, sir.
Pila tanan? Pila?
5 square root of 3 or 8.66.
Pila tanan? Point?
8.66.
8.66, sir.
8.67.
66.
66 or 67?
8.66,
66,
sir.
sir.
8.66. Okay, so 8.66.
8.67.
66.
Ako na lang. 3 significant figures na lang. Sige. Sige. Try to round it of 3 significant.
8.660. Sir.
Okay. So 8.66. So you have meters. Okay? So dapat murag tulo ka significant lang. So murag i-round off ninyo ang kuan ganun. Kuha. So that's the AX component or the EX component, the X component. Now, okay, ang sunod kay let's solve for the y component. So nakuha na nato ang x, ang y component na pod. So balik ta sa tuwang triangle here. Then natawa na to ang y component. So you have the AY and then ang imong angle 30 degrees. So sa ilang relationship sa 30 sa angle of sa AY, this is atbang, right?
Opposite, sir.
So opposite. So therefore we use sine function. So we use sine function. So we have sine. Sorry. So you have sine 30 degrees. That should be equal to the opposite side. Sine 30 degrees, the opposite side, which is actually AY, over the hypotenuse, which is actually 10 meters. So nakita ninyo class na once ma-establish ninyo na ang x component is cosine, automatically ang imong y component kay sine. Okay? So now doing the same thing, we multiply 10 meters both sides para ang mabilin sa right hand side would be the AY component. So the AY expression. So we would have 10 meters sine 30 degrees. So pila man siya class?
5.
5, sir.
5. So you have 5 meters. Okay? So this is now your AY component. So that would mean that ang imong vector A has this form, 8.66 meters I hat plus 5 meters J hat. Okay? So, hindi ganito. Sorry. So the next would be, nare-write na natin ang vector A. So ang itong buhaton ng vector B na po. So vector B is 20 meters, 50 degrees south of west. So ito na po na siyang sketch. So ang buhaton, I'll use different color. Suppose I have here, so vector V or vector B. So we have sketch na ito, no? So we have, sorry. Lang. Di naman. So you have so this is the north, this is the south, this is the west, this is the east. So ang direction kaganina kay 50 degrees south of west, di ba? So for 50 degrees south of west, so south of west. So from west, na-sure ka of 50 degrees pa doon sa south. Suppose that's 50 degrees. So yung mandang i-draw yung vector. So that's your vector. So ang buhaton dayon, i-project na to again. And then this would be your, okay, mauman mong vector B. So this is now your vector BX. Tama? On the other hand, this one, project na to sa Y component. So this would be your BY. So this is your, again, this is your VX. This is your VY. So since kinesia is parallel to this, this is also your BY here. Tama? So now, ako na siyang i-zoom. Ako na siyang i-zoom here. So nakay triangle nga. So this is now 50 degrees. And this is your, this is the magnitude. This is 20 meters. And then this is your BX, and then this is your BY. Tama? Now, you have to take note that ang imong vector kina sa third quadrant. So this is the first quadrant, second quadrant, this is the third quadrant, and then this is the fourth quadrant. So meaning, ang components nimo sa imong vector in the third quadrant has a negative sign for the x component. So this means that this is negative Vx here, and this is also negative Vy. Nakuha? So importante nga incorporate ninyo ang signs here correctly. So by that, so that would mean here this is minus Bx is also minus By. So now we can proceed. So we know that ang imong Bx ay imong B should be expressed in terms of this one. J hat. Okay? So now, what is the value of the Bx and the by. So to do that, focus first on the bx. Okay? So now bx is actually adjacent to the angle 50, right? Natawon nimo ang 50 degrees here, ang angle o ang imuhang x component. So ang relationship sa duha is actually tapad, so that would mean adjacent silang duha. So therefore, atong gamiton to solve for vx is cosine function. So you have cosine 50 degrees is equal to the adjacent side. So you have the adjacent side is actually minus bx, and then ang imong hypotenuse is actually 20 meters. Nakuha?
Yes, sir.
How about the others? Nabay nalibog aning nga part? So kung wala, now akong gusto kay kuan man, bx raman diri here. Look at this one, vx lang positive. So na ako'y negative here, na ako'y 20 meters. So kung buhaton is, para mawala ang negative, so kung buhaton, mag-multiply ko og negative. Tapos, para mawala ang 20 meters sa denominator, sa right-hand side, so mag-multiply ko og 20 meters. Okay? So now, i-distribute na ko na sila dito sa right-hand side o sa left-hand side. Now, when you do that, may tabo is that ang right-hand side becomes, you have negative 20 times negative here, that becomes positive. So you have bx. 20 meters times 1 over 20 meters, that cancels out the 20 meters. So therefore, ang mabiling you have dx. But then, pag abot sa left-hand side, you would have 20 meters cosine 50 degrees. So now, pila man na siya, class?
Negative 12.85.
Negative 12.85. So, butangan na to 12.85. So, 12.9. Ano lang na to? 12.9 meters. So, this is now your Vx. So, we proceed with the y component. So, buhaton na to. For the y component, balik ka sa diagram nimo. So, look at the triangle. So, lantaon na po nimo ang relationship sa imong angle o sa by. So, imong angle o ang by is opposite at bang. So, that would mean you use a sine function, the saw. Therefore, what happens here? We have sine 50 degrees is equal to the opposite side, which is actually minus Vy over the hypotenuse, which is 20 meters. So bottom line is, gusto na ko makancel ang negative o ang 20 meters sa right-hand side. So therefore, multiply na ko og 20 meters. Negative 20 meters, both sides. So that would mean makancel siya. And then, negative here times negative there, that becomes positive Vy. And so we would have negative 20 meters and then you have sine 50 degrees. So pila man ni siya, class?
Negative 15.
Negative 15.32.
15.3. So you have 15.3 negative meters. So therefore, ang atong vector B is equal to negative 12.9 meters I hat minus, plus man ni siya, no? But then you have negative 15.3 meters J hat. So positive times negative is negative. So that's why you can write this as 12.9 meters I hat minus 15 15.3 meters J hat. So that's your vector B. Okay? So now, nare-write na nato ang duha ka vectors mo to, itong duha ka objective. So isa, loading na po siya. So, ang tao na ito, class. So, ang atong nabuhat so far is that ato ning gi-rewrite ang imong vectors AB into their component form. So, that is actually form 2. And ang atong nakuha is actually kini nasa ubos. Here. So, for A, we have this one. For A, we have this one. And then for B, sorry, class, dugay mo gawas ang. So for B is you have this one. So again, atong i-recap. Vector A is equal to kapiyan ito na sa taas. Sorry. Loading siya. So you have 8.66 and 5. So you have positive 8.66, sorry. 8.66 meters I hat plus 5 meters J hat. And then ang imong vector B, you have negative 12.9 meters I hat minus 15.3 meters J hat. Okay? So now, the vector sum is just simply by adding the respective components of vector A and B. So that would mean, gaya kayo magawa sa pala. That would mean, so you have vector sum. Okay, this is the resultant. A plus B is just the resultant. Which is actually, i-add lang naman eh. So you have 8.66 plus negative 12.9. So pila man lang siya, class? That's roughly
Negative 4.24, sir.
negative 4.24.
24.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Tapos, ang kining kaduha, 5 plus negative 15. So that would be negative 10.
10.3.
10 meters. Okay. Okay. So, this is now the answer actually. Okay? This is the answer. That's the vector sum. That's the resultant. But, ang problema is that this is form 2. Form 2 and not form 1. Tama?
Sorry.
Yes, sir.
Okay? So what we want is actually a resultant vector. So nakita ninyo, ang atong gusto is ang resultant vector in terms of form 1. But ang atong resulta nakuha is form 2. So that's why atong buhaton is ato ning i-rewrite ang resultant into form 2. Ay, not form 2. Into form 1 kay form 2 naman siya daan. So that would mean, sa una to pagsulatan niya, so atong buhaton is, again, sketch na to. Sketch. So pag sketch na to, so we would have this na kay, ang tawag mo ang component na side. So you have negative, so that would mean this is the x-axis here, is the y. So na siya sa negative na side, so you have, suppose this is now, hindi na nag-ruler ani class. So suppose this is negative 4.24 meters. Sunod kay, ang y component niya is negative 10.3. So yung buhaton, i-draw mo ang y component starting from the arrowhead of the x component. So you would have negative man, so paubos. This is the negative y here. So that would mean draw ka padulong of, so this is now negative 10.3 meters. So now, ang imuhang resultant is actually that one. Sorry, wait. The tail of the first, arrowhead of the second. So this is now the vector na kinahanglan nato. This is angle theta. Wata kay balo ana, no? So this is your vector r. So now, unsa ato pagkibalo sa iyang magnitude? Okay, pag-solve sa magnitude, so what we do is notation is we use the Pythagorean Theorem. So this is actually a right triangle also. So what we do is we use Pythagorean Theorem. That is simply you square the components. So you have 4.24 meter square plus negative 10.3 meters square. Okay? So palig sa kung calculate na class. Kaya answer na while akong ipasulod ng isa.
$11.13, sir.
11.13. So nabay mo confirm ana ang answer daw kay 11.13, so that means 11.1 meters. So nabay mo confirm ana, so yung button is i-square ni mo ni. Square ni mo ni, then imo dang i-add and then take the square root. So okay. So if this is okay, if this is right, so you have 11.1 meters. So not kay ang theta. So theta. So to solve for theta, itong buhaton is naka-reserve ang TOA for that. Tama? So what you do is you apply tangent here. Okay, known naman ang imuhang sides. You have this one, the adjacent side, o ang opposite side. So you can always use your TOA. So that would mean apply nimo ang tangent function sa imong angle theta. That should be equal to the opposite side, which is actually negative 10.3 meters, all over the adjacent side, which is actually minus 4.24 meters. Look at this. Makancel na ko ang meters and then makancel na ko ang negatives. Now, ang theta would be equal to the inverse tangent of the quotient of 10.3 and 4.24. Ilan na siya, class?
Four by 2.43.
Sige, 10.3 divided by 4.24. And then,
2.43.
paon din mo dayon ang inverse. So dapat ang imong
67.6 ah.
pila?
67.6
67.
degrees.
Okay, so this is 67.6 degrees. Tama? So daghan man nag-answer og kuno 67.6. So that would mean asa man ni siya nga direction? Aka nagsugod. This is north. This is west. This is south here, and this is east. So that would mean nag-start ka from west going to south. So therefore, this is
Southwest.
south of west. Okay? So therefore, ngayon na ako isulat. Thus, the resultant vector is equal to 11.1 meters, 67.6 degrees south of west. Okay? So this is that's the resultant vector in terms of form 1. Kuha? So that's how you solve for the resultant vector when you are given with vectors that is actually vectors that are expressed in terms of form 1. So nakuha niyo ang process from tigaan mo duha ka vectors, gi-rewrite ninyo into its component form, and then pagkakuha niyo sa component form, inyong gi-add component to component. Then after that, makuha niyo ang resultant vector which is into its component form. So naka-form 2 siya. But then ang atong gusto is ang vector nga in terms of form 1. So that is why we rewrite it into form 1 nga notation. Diyon sa nato pagbuhat, gi-sketch na to. To solve for the magnitude, we use Pythagorean Theorem. And then for the angle, we use the tangent function. Okay? So kinahanglan na niyo sa practice on class. So bottom line is, kasagara sa mga problems kay naiuban or kasagara kay inanin yung buhaton so tigaan mo form 1 ng mga vectors and then ipasolve sa inyo ang resultant in terms of form 1 also. Now, naapoy uban nga problem nga hatagan na kadritsog vectors nga naka-form 2. So, mas sayon do siya kay di nakakinanglan mo agi atong pagpangita atong components niya, which is actually katong nagamit mo so, either so or ka. Okay? Pero, ang problema kay seldom ra po na siya ihatag class. So dapat magkaibalo ka pag-rewrite sa vector from form 1 to form 2 and vice versa. Okay? Nabay pangutana? Pangutana about ani? So mo to siya class ang pamaagi pag-solve, pag-add og duha ka vectors. Sir, ang pag-subtract sir unsaon man? Ay, parehas ra gyapon. Parehas ra ni nga pamaagi, pero kini siya diri dapita kining plus dani, kining plus instead of plus, this becomes a minus. Kung pangitaon ninyo ang vector difference. Okay? So more changes, same process, but then kinilang dayon ang imong ikuan. Same process and then ilisdan na nimo ni from plus into minus. Nakuha?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So at least ma-practice na ninyo ni class. Kadaghan. Practice og kadaghan. So now, should na kayo nag-load na po. Hindi na save mo niya. Basta napay gusto na ay gusto pang mag-clarify. So kung nalibog pa o pagpangita sa components, amatay dako nga kinanglan ninyong ma-overcome class saan pagpangita sa components, and then careful also sa sign. So lantawon din ninyo kung asa nga quadrant pag-draw ninyo sa vector or pag-sketch niyo sa vector, lantawon ninyo kung asa siya nga quadrant na belong, and then you check the signs. So especially pag kanang abot nimo sa second, third, o fourth, kinahagid na yung mga negative dana. So kay bulota ang first quadrant positive ginang duha. Ang sa second quadrant kay negative ang x component, positive ang y. Ang sa third quadrant kay negative ang duha, as you can see here sa atong example. Ang fourth quadrant kay positive ang x, negative ang y. So now, kung wala na may pangutanan dira sa vector sum, parehas naman ni sila o pamaagi pag-solve sa vector difference. So, pwede na rin tayo mag-proceed yun sa scalar product o vector product. So, next